WSOU 89.5 FM. I'm Valentino, and I'm joined today with Heath from Midtown. How you doing today, Heath?
I'm good, Valentino. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining. There's so much exciting stuff to talk about, so I'll just kick it off with the first and most obvious: Midtown reunion, Starland Ballroom. Tell me how you're feeling.
I am I'm over the moon. We're really excited about the future and the things that we have coming up with the band. We decided to come back to life, and we're just amazed by the response. So really looking forward to getting back out there and playing together.
Absolutely. And I know that you guys reunited in 2014 for just a little bit, just a few shows, and then you guys disbanded. Was the plan always to, reunite again in like 2021, or was this more of a 2022? Was this more of a recent thing?
Well, I think when we did the 2014 reunion, we were like, all right, cool. See you guys again in 10 years. Let's do this every decade or so, get together and have some fun, play some songs from our youth. But this really came about a little over 2 years ago. We hadn't played together in a very long time, and we had been talking a lot. Tyler and I and Rob and Gabe, we'd all talked about it here and there. Possibly doing a show. Maybe when our kids got a little bit older. And 2 years ago, we were talking and Tyler was like, why don't we just get into a practice space and we'll see what happens. So, Tyler and I are in New Jersey, Rob's in Brooklyn. We're all still pretty close together. So we decided to meet up one day after work, and we went to a practice space in Jersey City, and we played through the songs, and we hadn't rehearsed even individually before that. So we're like, let's play this song. Wait, put it up on Spotify real quick. How does that change go? And we'd listen to it a little bit. We'd run through it, and we were there for like 2 or 3 hours. We had an absolute blast. We're like, this is so much fun. And when you're a guitar player and a drummer in a band, you can sit at home and practice as much as you want, but until you're in a room with other people, you have the amps cranked loud and you're hearing that searing cymbal sound just destroying your ears. It's like two different worlds. Like, that doesn't compute to actually playing with people. It's such a great feeling. And we left there thinking like, this is going to be great. Let's do this we're adults. We can get out of work, come here for a little bit, and then go home to our families. We're like, this is something that we should do, every couple of weeks, every couple of months, maybe get together and play. And that was on March 10th of 2020. And very soon after that, the world shut down, and we were just like, well, we had a shot. We did it. We played together. It was a nice thought going into what would be like a 2-year pandemic, which is still going to some degree. So we were just at home that whole time thinking about like, man, that was really cool when we got together, right? When this calms down, let's do it again. And we've been talking about it a bunch, but we got this really great opportunity with My Chemical Romance that kind of pushed it ahead. So we've been doing it again. We've been playing together again, and it feels just as good as the first time.
Exactly. And, I'm sure with a band like Midtown, you guys, it's a bunch of friends getting together and playing songs you haven't played in a while, but there's 20 plus years of history, of just like friendship with this band, so it was probably rejuvenating on all levels, I can imagine.
It really was. And something changes in you when you're around people that you knew from your youth, like you end up making, you end up talking about things like from the past, but not in like a sad, oh, remember when type way. It's like, we have so many great memories together, and so many inside jokes that we can only talk about together.
Yeah.
There's so many things that we experienced together over the years, like we could say like a very simple phrase to each other, like Sunbeard Man. And Tyler and Rob and Gabe know the person I'm talking about and where we saw him and what that beard looked like, and we can experience that together. And that's something that you can really only share with that small core group of people. So being with them really is like being 20 years old again. It's like the fountain of youth.
And and like as you said, you can practice guitar all by yourself, but just those stories, and I'm sure you're nostalgic when you're playing again. You know what I mean? As I said, there's so much history going into this. But you said it before. I want to really, really talk about this. Opening for My Chemical Romance, like already the My Chem reunion is one of the biggest reunions we've seen in years. And then to have the
Yeah.
Midtown reunion line up just perfectly underneath that, it's insane. It's really awesome to see. Tell me a little bit about that process and like getting that call from them.
So I don't remember if it was Tyler or Gabe who was talking to Mikey about it, but you know, they reconnected at some point over the past couple months, past year. And one of them or both of them individually mentioned to Mikey that we were getting together and practicing together and playing. And you know, we're interested in doing a show at the end of the year together in New Jersey. And Mikey, I wasn't a part of this conversation, but this is what I understand of it. Mikey was like, well, what if you reunite a little earlier and play some shows on our headlining tour? And we were just like, of course, yeah, of course, yeah. That would be the coolest thing in the world. So you know, it was planning for months and months and months and months, and it ended up actually happening. And you know, it's just so cool just to be, first off, just to be considered for that, to have someone who, you know, you were friends with back in the day, who you kept in touch with, still looking out for you, and, you know, genuinely excited about what you're doing and willing to involve you in their plans. You know, like they could have asked anyone to tour with them and open these shows. Literally anybody would have done this, like, and been honored. But we are lucky to be the people who are honored with the spot on those 5 shows. It's incredible.
And what's just so kind of cool about it is like, the Midtown reunion, you would always gather a lot of people for this reunion. It's an incredible thing. But now you are guaranteed a stadium. You know what I mean? When you guys reunite, it is a sold out, packed arena, which is like really just kind of crazy to think about. Like, what's that going through your head?
Oh, it's terrifying. It is absolutely terrifying. But we have played arenas before, so it's not like it's not that foreign. We did tour with Blink 182 in 2001. We opened up a bunch of dates for them. We have played in arenas. We know that it's different than playing in a club. But I don't think that there is any feeling like going out on stage and seeing 25,000, 40,000. I don't even know how many people are going to be at these shows, but like thousands upon thousands of people looking at you, just waiting to hear you play. It's incredible. And that's going to be our first show back. Our first show back after 8 years of not playing together, 8.5 years of not playing together, is going to be in front of the biggest possible crowd in our home state. So it's wild, but we are preparing for it, and we're gonna get out there and we're gonna kick some ass.
Absolutely. And again, for all of our New Jersey listeners, that's going to be at the Newark Prudential Center. You guys are also coming to Sunrise, Florida, and Dallas and Houston, Texas. So you guys don't want to miss that, and an LA show. So there's going to be a lot of chances that you guys get to see Midtown open for MyChem. So you definitely don't want to miss that. But what also is just kind of crazy to me is even just I feel that, like, especially in that scene, like that older scene of post-hardcore pop punk, like the 3 bands that I kind of think of are MyChem, Midtown, and Thursday. And those are the 3 bands that are kind of on this run, which is just kind of cool to just see that almost renaissance, like, come back again. But another thing that I wanted to get your opinion on, with My Chemical Romance, they have so many different fans from when they were, still a band pre-hiatus. Now there's a lot of new fans that got into them in the last, 5 or 10 years, right after 2013, all that sort of stuff after their breakup. How's it going to be kind of for you guys to perform in front of maybe a lot of bands that got into MyChem like in the last few years and don't know who Midtown are?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think that we're just going to go out there the same way that we go out to every show, which is, this is what we do. We're here to play our songs. We're going to play them as well as we can. We're going to interact with the audience. We're going to go out there just to have a great time. This is like that week of shows is like almost like an adult vacation, like you get to go and travel with your friends and do like your favorite thing in the world and share it with people that you love, that you haven't seen in a very long time, and that you don't see enough. So we're just going to be cherishing every moment of those shows, every moment of travel, every moment of sitting in an airport waiting for the plane, when we're waiting to get picked up, finding a terrible meal in a weird town. We're just going to look at it like this is a nice adult vacation with our best friends, where we get to do the coolest thing in the world.
Now, I also kind of want to ask, obviously you guys are doing those 2 dates, December 2nd and 3rd. I'll be at the 3rd. I am so excited.
Awesome.
Can't wait to see it at the Starland Ballroom in New Jersey. I mean, what a venue. I mean, really, one of the most, probably arguably one of the most, if not the most legendary venue in New Jersey. Tell me a little bit about choosing that venue.
Well, I can't even guess how many times we've played Starland Ballroom over the years. That was always our kind of home base. Like when that place came back into the fold, I would say that was probably around 2003, 2004, maybe 2002. When that place came back in, it was a force, and that was the venue you wanted to play in New Jersey. Before it, there were places like Club Benet, which was Club Chrome, just a little smaller. There was the Birch Hill, which is another legendary venue that's not there anymore. Those were our home when we first started. But towards the middle and the end of our band, every home show that we played was at Starland Ballroom. We played there with so many bands. I almost destroyed the soundboard there one night when we were playing. I had a really bright idea of throwing my water into the crowd, and it landed on the soundboard and it exploded, and somehow we didn't get a bill for $100,000 for the soundboard. Luckily it got cleaned up. But I have a ton of great memories from not only playing shows there, but going to see shows there. I've seen so many bands there. I got to see Hot Water Music and the Lawrence Arms play there in like 2007. I've seen My Chemical Romance play there. I've seen Taking Back Sunday play there. I've seen a million great shows and great bands there, and it really does feel like coming home when you walk in those doors. I played there with Census Fail a million times. I mean, it's a great venue. It's a great venue.
Absolutely. And all right, so I'm actually not originally from New Jersey. I moved here for the last 4 years, but I'm from Rhode Island, and I love Rhode Island with all my heart. It's a great state, really a lot of incredible things there. But I never truly understood what it was like to be in a music community until I moved down to Jersey and I started going to shows at the Starland Ballroom, and it's just a weird, the security guards, the box office people, all the bands that the local bands that play, them, all the regular fans of anything, post-hardcore, pop punk, emo, metal, death metal, everything in between. It's like, if you're a fan of music, you're just a fan of music. And I think that, I don't know, there's just something so special about that Jersey scene, and Starland is so closely tied to it.
Yeah, there always has been something special about New Jersey and the music that comes from it. The bands, when we were starting, were very tight knit. We would play 2-3 shows a weekend at various VFW halls, firehouses, Elks Lodges across New Jersey. And, there were a lot of bands. But it's not just that there were a lot of bands. There were a lot of really, really good bands, and a lot of people who you would see playing in one band, joining another, kind of coming up and continuing to write songs and hone their craft. It's really fun to see what those people are doing now.
Absolutely. So. And, I think there's just something so special about that New Jersey scene, is that at least from my own perspective, and I'm sure you might have a similar thing, none of the bands are really competing against each other. They're just making music and helping each other out for the sake of music. You know what I mean? That's a really special thing. I don't think I see very many other places. Typically it's I got to get my band ahead of your band, but here it's all love for music is what it is.
Yeah, it's a community.
Yeah, it is. I kind of want to ask a little bit about how have you seen the state of rock music kind of change a bit? You know what I mean? Obviously Midtown came out early 2000s, dominated the rock world completely. Census Fail dominating that post-hardcore world for a few years. And now 2022, things are different. Things are a lot different now. Do you have anything that you've noticed that's just a huge difference from earlier?
I mean, I think things definitely go in cycles. And like a lot of the bands that I listen to now who are newer bands remind me of stuff from like the early 90s. I think there's been like a pretty good, like, I don't know if there's even a term for it. And I'm like so old and out of touch that like I'm gonna say something and it's not probably what people would think, but like there's some stuff out now that's like kind of like grunge and like shoegazy, and I'm really into that because I love the tones of that type of music, and I love the vibe and the groove of that kind of music. But as far as like popular rock music and what the kids are into these days, I have no idea.
That's all okay. But no, I do agree. I also kind of see that, like that grunge resurgence. Another question I wanted to ask you, obviously we're very excited, Midtown Reunion is going to be incredible, but I would be remiss if I didn't talk to you about this. Census Fail being one of my personal favorite bands of all time. Still Searching being one of probably the best records I've ever heard in my life. Tell me a little bit about, oh yeah, of course. Seriously, like through and through, that's just a cohesive record. You know what I mean? It's amazing. Looking back now, kind of on that album, tell me a little about your impact on the band. The songs that you wrote are like still staples of the set list for years to come.
I think that was an incredibly fertile time for the band. Like everyone in the band at that time was an incredible musician and really coming into their own with songwriting. Like Buddy's lyrics on that record are incredible. His performances are incredible. Dan as a drummer is a machine. Like, not only is he precise with his movements and his tempo is always locked in, but he has a sense of groove about him that like you can't find in like a 19-year-old. I think Dan was like 19 when we recorded that album, 19 or 20. He was super young, and he was like 15 when they first recorded and went on tour.
Wow.
But he's an incredible talent. Like he's an amazing drummer. Anything that he does is incredible. But Garrett and I, as guitar players, like we just like really enjoyed playing guitar together. We really locked in, and we kind of had a thing where I knew what he was going to do and he knew what I was going to do, and we knew how to like immediately complement each other. So we had a really special guitar chemistry. But it was just like, I think it was just a great time for the individuals and their skill levels and their creativity, but also everything else that was going on in music around it. Everything was very heavy and dark at that time. And I think that the record that we wrote just happened to be, well timed, and I think it was a really great album.
Yeah, and I really agree. I think that it was dark and matched the atmosphere of the time period, but also like, man, did it hold the test of time. The fact that I think it's almost 20 years down the line, it's still just one of the most cohesive, best records I've ever heard.
Thanks, man.
Of course. Switching gears a bit, going back into Midtown, I kind of want to ask, obviously you guys have 3 records that were released around that early 2000s era. When doing these shows, and especially, the Starland Ballroom headlining show, how do you make a set list? Because it's kind of hard to tell, typically when you make a set list, oh, that song's doing really popular. Okay, well, we might phase that one out. I imagine it's really, really tough when you haven't touched these songs in 10 years and wrote them 20 years ago,
Yeah, and luckily we're not at that point yet where we're worrying about set lists. We're trying to learn and, kind of get tight as many songs as we can. We want to be able to pull from a big bag of songs, because people have been waiting a long time to hear them. So right now we're trying to learn everything. And I think in the past, I think I mentioned this in other interviews, but in the past, we've been very precious about our set list and the songs that we choose to play. We always wanted to play the new songs. Like when we were on the second record, we didn't want to play any songs from the first record. We were on the third record. We only wanted to play songs from the third record because they were new. And at this point, nothing is new. It's all, it's all legacy, legacy content. And we're just I think we're going to look at it more like, what do we want to play because it's fun, and what does the crowd want to hear? So
Okay, yeah.
we're just going to learn everything that we can.
That's very rewarding to hear, because fans might have been waiting 20 years if they missed out on that 2014 show, those few months, to hear these songs live. So you kind of want to give them almost a total capsule of everything that that they might want to hear.
Right, exactly.
I want to thank you so much again today for sitting down and talking to me. It's been an absolute pleasure to, just go over Midtown, go over some Census Fail, talk about this reunion, these MyChem shows. I got one more question for you today. So seriously, thank you so much again.
Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it.
Of course. You're always welcome on WSOU. Always, whatever project you got going on, you can be sure that we'll be playing.
Okay, well, please let me know the next time you have Halloween in the studio, and I will be there to hang out.
Okay, absolutely. I know that the record that we played the heck out of it when it came out last year, so or 2 years ago, I forget, but
nice.
Yeah, of course.
Very cool.
My last question for you today is, after the Starland Ballroom show, after these two dates, will there be more Midtown, or is this just kind of like a few month kind of live thing?
I don't think that we've put a cap on it. I think that we're going to go out and we're going to have fun, and we're going to see what happens. We're just going to enjoy it, live in the moment, and take each opportunity as it comes in.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again for joining me. For all of our New Jersey, New York listeners, you guys are coming to Starland Ballroom December 2nd and 3rd. And you guys are going on tour with MyChem, so don't miss out. Thank you.
Thank you.